Okay, so hello everyone, my name is Salim and welcome to the mini markets breakdown analysis. I just want to first make sure everyone can hear me clearly before we start the analysis. If someone can just confirm on the chat before we start. Okay, so yeah, nice. Just gonna answer a couple in excited for today's stream. Yes, me too, to be honest. It's very interesting to see what GJ done so far, because that bullish move that we seen here on a Wednesday, I didn't really expect it, to be honest. But obviously we've had high impact news, so that could have been the reason to why price moved bullish. But we will break this down really good today as well. And it's really interesting where price is trading at the moment. Actually, is there any office visiting time? Arham, if you can send us an email with your full name, your email address and your phone number, and we will be able to arrange either a phone call, or maybe we will be able to see if we can accept you to come to the office. But yeah, just send us an email and then we'll go from there. So now starting with GJ. So far, obviously, so we have this Wednesday, this is Tuesday. The last time we did the analysis, we've had the Tuesday daily candle, and then the anticipation was to see price moving bearish. So my anticipation was to see, a retracement on the daily because of how price reacted, or how price formed these daily candles on the left. So, but what happened is completely the opposite. Obviously, we've had that continuation to the upside, and the move up was from the pre-London Open, and we've had high impact news. I believe we've had CPI, and that could be the catalyst for price to move bullish. So let's have a look on weekly so far. So far the weekly is still extremely bullish, tapping into the weekly resistance formed back on the 26th of November 2023, and not only tapping into a weekly resistance, but also price tapping into breaking above the monthly resistance formed back in December last year, and almost breaking above the yearly high for 2023, which is obviously that was the high that was formed in November 2023. Now, what we can see, or what we can anticipate, is what actually is going to happen. So, the way I like to see is, what would the weekly candle look like? So obviously the weekly is still bullish. The weekly broke above the previous weekly high. The weekly is tapping into weekly resistance. So what we need to do is we need to identify what's the lower time frames looking like. So now we're dropping down to the daily time frame, and what we can see on the left is also price approaching a daily resistance. Now, what's interesting about where the price is trading at the moment is price is almost breaking above the, I'd say maybe 8 to 9 year high. Because when you look on the left, once price break above 188.770, on the left we have clean price action all the way back to where price formed the rejection on a monthly time frame back in November 2015. Now this is really interesting. So it'll be interesting to see how this weekly candle closes, whether we'll see let's say a daily resistance to be formed on Friday, or whether we're going to see that continuation to the upside. But it would be good to see some sort of market structure, maybe like price reacting to this daily resistance, maybe from a daily resistance, retrace, and then allow some sort of a wick to be filled for the next weekly candle if we will see that continuation to the upside. But so far it seems like GJ is extremely bullish. I mean, looking at the monthly now, so far breaking above that monthly resistance. But anyways, let's break down the daily. So far the daily has been bullish, but however, once price broke above the previous daily high, which is the Wednesday daily high, it hasn't really done anything. So it looks like the daily's been ranging on the lower time frame. Now when dropping down to the 4-hour time frame, what do we see? We have 4 hour forming a range, and we can clearly see we have multiple 4 hour candles closing weak bearish, closing small body candles. And when we measure this range, this is roughly around 66 to 70 pip range. So that's a really small range, I would say. But anyway, so first of all, what we're going to do is put the line to where the previous daily low was formed, and the line to where the previous daily high was formed as well. Dropping down to the 4 hour time frame, and what we can see here is we have this 4 hour support, recent support formed around 187.490. The most recent 4 hour resistance formed on the left around 187.980, but we haven't got anything recent. So what we need to do is look on the left. Now, since we haven't got anything recent within this level, maybe it would be a good idea to go back to the monthly and put a line to where this monthly rejection formed back in November 2023. Dropping down to the weekly time frame. Now, see price is tapping into a weekly resistance formed previously. Dropping down to the daily time frame. Now we have this daily resistance formed around 188.450. Dropping down to the 4 hour time frame, and looking on the left, and what do we see here? Let's have a look. Now we have a 4 hour resistance. Now that's where it gets really tricky, because we need to allow enough range for price to consolidate. But again, we also have this 4 hour resistance around 188.300. Drop it down to the hourly time frame, and what do we see? Let's have a look. Also, we have this hourly resistance, but above this hourly resistance we have price ranging on the left. Now that's where buys could be a little bit difficult to anticipate, because obviously price tapping into a monthly high, tapping into a weekly resistance, and trading within this hourly range as well. So now to identify the no trade zone, and maybe we could have this as a guide for now, but let's go back to the recent price action. So far what we can see, we identified the 4 hour support around 187.490. Dropping down to the hourly time frame. Now what we can see is we have this recent 1 hour support around 188.020. We have this recent 1 hour resistance, but obviously this is still a small range, so we need to see if we can identify anything. We have identified the hourly resistance. Dropping down to the 30-minute time frame. Again, we have this 30-minute support. We have this range on the 30-minute time frame. Nothing really to see on a 15-minute time frame, but clearly we identified an hourly resistance formed previously back in November 2023, obviously. So now to identify the no trade zone, I would say potential buys. What would be good is, because the thing is, the way the daily is ranging at the moment, it hasn't really formed a decent top wick on a daily time frame to have that nice retracement and then allow some sort of a range for price to consolidate. So the daily so far has, let's say, a 9 pip or even an 8 pip range top wick. So I wouldn't say this is a decent one. So ideally is to see, some sort of a retracement for price to get into a comfortable area to form, let's say, a range on the hourly or even consolidate within the 30-minute time frame. So what we're going to do here is we could look for potential buys above 188.300. Let's say above the hourly resistance we have identified previously. Potential sells, however, since the new daily candle will be starting shortly and it hasn't formed a top wick or a bottom wick, what we need to do is, since price is bullish, we are anticipating for the new daily candle to retrace, form the bottom wick before that continuation to the upside. So in order to do that, what we need to do is allow enough range on the left for price to consolidate within before that continuation. So the first thing we can see is we have this previous 4 hour resistance formed on the left back around 187.980. Dropping down to the hourly time frame, and now what we can see, we have this previous 1 hour resistance. See, this looks like a really messy range, but we can still find opportunities within this daily range. So now dropping down to the 30-minute time frame, and then on the 30-minute time frame we have this 30-minute support around 187.850, kind of aligns with this previous hourly range, 30-minute range. And then when dropping down to the 15-minute time frame, we do have this solid 15-minute support again, we can see some inconsistency on the price action on the left on the 50-minute time frame. So what I would say, and to be honest, where GJ's at the moment trading, based on a daily, it doesn't really look that comfortable. And the daily candle so far hasn't really done anything. The body of the daily candle so far being bullish, that's roughly around 40 pip range. When you compare this daily candle to the daily candle we've had on Wednesday, we can clearly see there has been some sort of a reduce on that bullish momentum as price tapping into a daily resistance, weekly resistance, and the monthly high formed back in November 2023. So now the question is, what is the probability for price to form a resistance at this level to retrace before that continuation to the upside? Now, in my opinion, since the daily is ranged, I mean, we could see that consolidation expanding on Friday, but it would be good to see a daily resistance. But let's have the no trade zone to be identified first before we have that speculation. So zooming in and dropping down to the hourly time frame. So now I would say potential buys above 188.300 ideally is to really wait for price to break out of this daily resistance for that potential buy. Yeah, like the thing is, this is a really small range the way it looks at the moment, but that means, let's have a look, and then we have this 4-hour resistance. That's a really messy range in my opinion. Maybe what we could do is, instead of looking for buys above 188.300, maybe adjust that idea to 188.450. That way we're allowing for price to break and close on a low time frame above a daily resistance, which is, I would say, a decent confirmation for that continuation to the upside. Because if price, you just imagine if price tap into this area and then ends up rejecting this daily resistance, and then you become on a losing trade, so it would be more appropriate to allow that range to happen. So I would say potential buys could be above 188.460. Potential sells could be below 187.850, excuse me, and this is going to be the no trade zone. We're just going to put this here. So we have GPY inflation rate news in 10 minutes. Yes. Okay, so let's have a look. So now to look for potential buys, and actually before looking for potential buys, I just want to discuss something first. So as mentioned shortly, we've mentioned how the daily candle for Wednesday closed decent bullish, breaking out of this daily range, which this is the issue that I was seeing on Tuesday, preparing for Wednesday, if price rejected this area. But clearly what we could see is price pushed through these daily ranges, tapped into almost a daily resistance, and now price is struggling to continue bullish. Now the question is, so we have this Wednesday, Tuesday, Monday. So far we've had 4 daily candles forming. We have Monday being bullish, Tuesday being bullish, Wednesday being extremely bullish, and then Thursday being bullish, but you can clearly see that reducing volume as price is tapping into a daily resistance formed on the left. Hello Salim, hi Abraham, welcome to the live stream. Yes, so now the anticipation I'm seeing here is maybe it would be good to see a resistance, because if we have 4 daily candles so far printing bullish, the weekly hasn't formed a bottom wick. What is the probability for this weekly candle to retrace, allow let's say a rejection to respect this weekly resistance on the left, also respecting this monthly high formed in November 2023, and then as price formed daily resistance, then maybe we could see that retracement happening on the next weekly candle. Now I would say that probability is pretty high, even though we have everything being bullish, but we still have to pay attention to how this daily candle is forming on Thursday. So I could say, you know, like, yes, we don't have any confirmation yet, but to me personally, the way the daily candle is forming, either price is going to form a resistance on the 4-hour time frame to form a range, and then potentially see that retracement to correct this bullish move, which obviously this bullish move was due to the CPI news we've had Wednesday morning for the pound sterling. So that would make sense to see that retracement, but we need the confirmation to happen. We need price to range on the low time frame, let's say form a range on the hourly time frame, see some decent resistance is happening on the 4 hour, either on the 4 hour or the hourly time frame, and then to anticipate that correction, just like what we did previously. Actually, I think we did it on gold. We will discuss that shortly. We did it on the daily. Yeah, we did it last week, where we've anticipated for price to retrace and correct part of this move, bullish move we've had from last week. But anyway, so now to look for potential buys, and this is where it becomes really, really interesting. So the most recent price action we can see here is that the monthly November high formed back into 2023, which is 188,660, and that is a really small range. But then on the left, when you look on the left, what do we see? The most recent price action we have is the monthly rejection formed back in November 2015. And as what would be good actually to do is to see what happened within that price action. So clearly we can see this monthly candle formed back in November 2015 moved bullish. So we had, okay, just to simplify this, so we've had a October monthly candle forming a support, and then the monthly candle for November 2015 respected this low, broke this high, and then retraced, rejected the upside, formed the resistance, and then retraced from there. As we can see, we've had some really strong bearish momentum on the monthly time frame. So now the question is, since price is tapping into this area, it would be good to see that retracement on the weekly time frame or the daily time frame to form within, let's say, within this week or next week, before breaking above this strong monthly rejection and continue bullish. Because then we have, let's say, okay, so we can say, okay, so price formed liquidity, pulled back, retested certain areas, let's say, for example, on the left here, maybe we could say, okay, so price needs to retrace. For example, we could see that retracement on a daily time frame to retest the previous most recent daily resistance around 185,700. It doesn't have to see, like, that retracement doesn't necessarily has to retest this daily resistance. We could maybe retest those rejections on the left, or we could even retest this previous daily resistance formed around 187. So it all depends on the volume, but by allowing the weekly candle to retrace and then, or allowing the new weekly candle to form a bottom wick, once price break above this current weekly high, and then the next, let's say, breaking above this monthly high, then we have a higher probability for price to continue bullish. So now the first thing we did mark is obviously the monthly rejection formed back in November 2015, and I know that's a small target, but this is something that we don't know whether the continuation to the upside is going to still happen because of how the daily candles forming on Thursday, or whether we're going to see a retracement. So I would say the first target for buys could potentially be 188,790, or let's say 188,800, targeting the monthly rejection formed back in November 2015. The second target for buys, now let's have a look again on the monthly. Looking on the left, and what do we see? Nothing really that you could see, but if you really want to squeeze that, then maybe put a line to where this monthly rejection happened back in that was in December 2014, and then dropping down to the weekly. Looking on that recent price action, we can clearly see price formed a weekly resistance. That was a weekly support formed at this level around 189,700. Maybe we could adjust this one slightly to 189,570. Dropping down to the daily time frame, we need to go back. So let's have a look. Oh yeah. So looking on the daily, go back to 2015. Yeah, so apart from this daily range where price consolidated, we've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 daily candles ranging within this level, and then we can clearly see how price reacted. And then obviously we've had this weekly support. Maybe we could have that as the second target for buys. So I'd say the second target for buys could be 189,570 or even 550, targeting the previous weekly support formed on the 12th of July 2015. And yeah, so now to look for potential sells, and going back to the most recent price action, Where can we look for sells on GJ? Yeah, so we're gonna discuss this now. Managed a small sell today for the 4-hour support, 30 pips. Okay, so now to look for sells. Now, in my opinion, despite having the weekly being extremely bullish, despite having a monthly being extremely bullish, price at one point has to retrace to form that price action on the either on the high time frame or the low time frame. Now, the confirmation I can see for good sells here is the way the daily candle has been forming on Thursday. So if price approaching this daily resistance and it's failing to continue that bullish momentum, maybe it's about time to see there's some sort of a resistance happening on a daily time frame, and that would be actually perfect because I mean so far we've had Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday being bullish. It would be good to see that retracement happening on Friday, which will allow the weekly candle to close with a wick forming a top wick, because if price meant to continue bullish within the next weekly candle, then we could say, okay, so since the new weekly candle is forming a bottom wick, as price break above this weekly high, which obviously we're talking about next week, and then breaking above this weekly resistance, there is a higher probability for price to continue bullish. So this is just an anticipation or visualizing, you know, candlestick formations, and you know, based on the daily time frame, the weekly, the 4-hour, based on the recent price action. So now to look for potential sells, and the way I could say we could start looking at these breakdowns is maybe put a line to where this monthly resistance, because if anything, if price is failing to close bullish, or let's say to continue bullish, maybe what would be good is to see, so if price is failing to continue bullish, then that means this monthly candle will retrace and trade below the monthly resistance formed in December 2023. So that could be the first target, but let's have a look on a weekly time frame just to adjust it. On a weekly time frame, nothing really to see apart from just a strong bullish candle on a weekly time frame. Dropping down to the daily time frame, now we can clearly see we have a daily resistance formed previously on the left. We can also mark the daily low that was formed on Thursday. Dropping down to the 4-hour time frame, zooming in, and we have this 4-hour support, and that's where it becomes really small ranges. That's roughly around 35 pip range. Dropping down to the hourly time frame, now we have this hourly support. So this is a really messy range on the hourly time frame. Let's have a look on the 30-minute time frame. We have a 30-minute support, but again we have a messy range in here. I would say it's going to be one of them days where your targets are going to be smaller than usual, just because of how price is ranging. Because the question is if price range in this level, what is the probability for price to range again once we see that retracement and price getting back into this range? So there is a probability for price to retrace and starts to consolidate within this level again. So that's one of the reasons to why we're going to look for small targets. And again, we can clearly see how this 4-hour candles has formed with small body candles. So it would be good to have I'd say a realistic target. So I would say the first target for sells could potentially be 187,470, based on the recent price actions, based on how price is forming at the moment, because there is no sign of volume. I mean, when you look at the 4-hour time frame, when you look at how the daily candle formed, there is no sign of volume so far. So there is the only sign we can see is price ranging on the hourly time frame and the 4-hour time frame. So I would say the first target, as mentioned, sells would be 187,470. The second target for sells, now let's have a look again at daily. What we're going to do is put a line to where this previous daily resistance formed around 186,930. Drop it down to the 4-hour time frame. Now on the 4-hour, let's have a look on the left. Yeah, something's happening here, because obviously we've had this small bullish candle closing on the 4-hour time frame. But let's see if we can identify anything on the left. Not really, apart from this previous 4-hour support, but obviously that was formed within this range. So let's go back to the recent price action. Dropping down to the hourly time frame, and now what we can see, we have this hourly support around 187.070. Dropping down to the 30-minute time frame, we have a 30-minute support around 187.040. Doesn't really have to be like, you don't have to really look on the 50-minute time frame, because we do have some good confirmation on the 30-minute and the hourly time frame. So I would say personally, second target for sales could potentially be 187.040, targeting this hourly support. And yeah, and I know this is a really small range. Again, the only reason why I'm looking at these small ranges is because the concern is, if price retrace and starts to trade within this level, what is the probability for price to start to consolidate, knowing that price consolidated in this area already? And also when you look at the daily, as mentioned, the daily hasn't really done anything. So now what we're going to do is discuss something different about sells. So let's say we've had some really good confirmations for potential sells, volumes coming back in the market. You can see, for example, 4 hour forming a rejection, then forming a resistance. Then what we can do is start to anticipate for a correction for this daily candle on the left, which obviously that was formed back in Wednesday this week. So that's where we start to look for a decent area to see that continuation. So the only way you're going to identify that volume coming in is when there is high volume time, talking about the pre-London session, London Open, pre-NY, New York Open, or even if we didn't see any volume on these sessions, there is a probability to see volume coming in around the London close. It all depends on how candles are forming. So I would say, you know, if you see that sign of, you know, strong, you know, volume coming in, maybe you could start to anticipate to see that correction for this hourly candle here, because that's actually a decent candle. Because what I like to do is, for example, put, you know, just box this candle here, and let's see if we can identify anything. Actually, it would be better to just put lines. Let's just delete this one, just so we can see what's happening within this daily candle or within this range, because that's roughly around 52 pip range. Again, it's a really messy range on the left, but not really that much of a concern. The only thing that would give you that, you know, good confirmation to see that continuation to the downside is if we've had price breaking and closing below this hourly range, meaning you have clean traffic on the left, and then your another confirmation to give you that confidence in holding sells is to anticipate for price to retrace or, like, you know, correct this bullish move we've had on Wednesday. Because the thing is, you know, when you look at the prior to Wednesday, Monday and Tuesday daily candles have been small body candles. We only seen that volume on Wednesday. But yeah, so if you do have any questions regarding GJ's analysis, just let us know before we had with gold. Just want to see if anyone have any questions so far. And also, I do actually remember, Nemat, you've asked me to, you know, keep the markups that we've had from Tuesday, but for some reason, I'm not really sure what happened, but they seem to disappear. Maybe they're here with this different template. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with this one, but yeah, they've actually disappeared. I'm really not sure what happened. But the one for gold have stayed actually, so we'll have a look at that. Do you think the adjustment on the GPY inflation rate will affect GJ within the day? That's a good question. I mean, it could maybe, create some, spikes in price action. But it all depends on the volume. It all depends on, whether the Bank of Japan decides to comment on, on the rates, or on, just like, it all depends on how these prices, like these numbers are coming out, I'd say. Yesterday daily candle super upper wick was less than 50 pips. Can that be a confirmation for a retracement or a sell? Yeah, exactly. So this is exactly what I was just talking about on GJ, because of how this daily can. Are you talking about this wick? So yesterday daily candle upper wick was less than 50 pips. Can that be a confirmation for a retracement to sell? Yeah, to be honest, like that's how I did visualize sells to play out better than buys, even though the monthly, the weekly, so the monthly, the weekly, the daily being bearish overall, bullish overall. So the only reason why I am hesitating to see that continuation to the upside is because we have, we have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday being bullish. We have the monthly being bullish, the weekly being bullish, excuse me. So we have price tapping into breaking above the monthly resistance, tapping into weekly resistance, and once price break above the yearly high for 2023, which is obviously the monthly high formed back in November 2023, then we have a rejection wick formed on a monthly time frame on the left back in 2015. So I would say the way the daily candle the way the daily candle formed on Thursday, it kind of gives me a confirmation to maybe start to plan for sells in the anticipation to see that correction for this daily candle and to allow a wick to form for the weekly candle, even if we had that continuation to the upside on the next weekly candle. But it would be good to see a retracement, because then at least we have, if we didn't have a bottom wick, for example, formed for this weekly candle, at least we have some sort of a wick for the weekly candle to close, I would say. But yeah, I could take that as a confirmation for potential sells. Now, as I'm assessing this for potential sells, what I'm paying attention to is to see how price is forming on a lower time frame, and wait for those confirmations, or wait for a decent resistance to be formed on the 4-hour time frame or the hourly time frame, and then hope for that rejection to the upside to then start to have those confirmation to play in your favor, which obviously you're looking for sells, because this is the candle that I'm really looking at for sells. But obviously we do have these ranges. The reason why we are looking for small targets is because of how price is ranging within this level and how the daily candle formed on Thursday. But yeah, that was a good point in that, Nemat. So we have Ziad saying, hi Ziad, welcome to the live stream. I don't know why I lose all the trades that I make in New York session. Is there something I have to know maybe about the volume or something like that? So I would say it depends on what kind of confirmation you're taking for, whether you're taking buys or sells. It depends on like what confirmations. For example, if you're taking a buy, why are you taking a buy? Like, are you getting a confirmation? Is there a reason to why you're taking a buy, or are you just taking a buy because the daily being bullish, or are you just taking a buy because you're seeing the 1 hour being bullish? So you have to really have, a valid reason to follow that. And for example, let's say you took a buy and then you got stopped out and price went into your favor, then that's when you're going to question, okay, so you was right, but the timing wasn't right. So then start to see how you would have made the timing right, or how could you have made a good decision to enter the trade at the correct timing. So maybe you could have given yourself a second chance. But I would say always question these things, because If it's not the confirmation that you've had, it could be the volume. If it's not the volume, there was no confirmation. If it's not confirmation, it could be price reacting to a certain level. Pay attention to where the weekly is trading at the moment. Pay attention to all time frames. If you do actually, you know, if you can send me, you know, if you can tell us where you actually took a buy, and we can look on a chart here and we can see where it went wrong for you, then maybe we could comment on that. But it would be hard to just do it like this. But yeah, if you can provide us with some information, that would be really good. So do we have any questions regarding GJ's analysis before we had to do the breakdown on gold? But yeah, as mentioned, Nemat, like, I'm really not sure what's going on, but the lines that we've had set up on the chart from the previous session, this seems to disappear. But on gold, however, they even on gold, yeah, I really don't know what's going on. I don't know why they disappearing. I'm not sure why they're not saving. Interesting. I kind of remember where we were looking for targets. We can always go over that. It's not a problem at all, name it. But yeah, I just want to clear out GJ first before we go to gold. So I'm guessing we don't have any questions. I'm just going to go ahead and look at gold. So on gold, let's have a look on a weekly. Okay, so let's just take this one off. Yeah. Anyway, so looking at the weekly so far, and this is something that we have anticipated, and we have anticipated. You're welcome anytime, Nemat. Not a problem at all. Yes, so we have anticipated to see sells happening. Now, to be honest, the way this weekly candle has been formed, I was anticipating to see this weekly candle happening within this weekly candle, within, let's say, the last weekly candle. But obviously, the Thursday and the Friday daily candle did the complete opposite, which for the last weekly candle, that was the Thursday and that was the Friday daily candle. They formed rejections on both sides. Both of these candles are Friday daily candles. But despite the daily candle for Friday last week closed bullish, despite the weekly candle closed bullish, what's interesting about this candle, despite the weekly candle closing bullish, this weekly candle tapped into weekly resistance. Tapped into weekly resistance formed prior to that, retraced and formed a rejection. Now that was hard to determine where price could go ahead, or like where price could go next. Because if you, let's say for example, at the beginning of the week, you would have only had this Friday daily candle, so you wouldn't have had anything. But then the alarming thing that we had, or we did discuss already, is the way the daily candle for Friday last week formed the rejection to the upside, which what made me hesitate to see that continuation to the upside. So it kind of makes sense to see a weekly support formed rejecting this weekly resistance, and then the anticipation was to see the current weekly candle to form a top wick, respect this weekly high, respect this weekly resistance, and then break a low and continue bearish. Because again, the confirmation for further sells we've had is when you look at the monthly, for example, you can clearly see we've had a monthly rejection, and when you look in a weekly time frame, we've had multiple weekly rejections to the upside. So we didn't have any confirmation. And another thing as well, you can clearly see how this weekly candle, so this weekly candle respected this high, this one respected this high, this one respected this high. So it kind of made sense to see that continuation to the downside. Now obviously so far the weekly candle has tapped into the weekly support formed at the beginning of December 2023, and now it has actually been retracing. So let's have a look on the daily time frame. Now on the daily time frame so far, what we can see is obviously we've had Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So Monday daily candle, overall I would say it ranged within the rejection wick formed on Friday. Then the Tuesday daily candle, that's where we've seen decent volume coming in. The Wednesday daily candle broke, so the Wednesday daily candle formed a top wick, broke below the Tuesday low, broke below this daily support on the left, and then continued bearish. Now this is something that we've mentioned, now how we could see price retracing and tapping a certain area. Of course, we've had, I think as far as I remember, based on the daily, our targets, probably we've had this daily support, and I believe we've had 20.10 to 20.09, which is this previous daily resistance on the left. And but as we can see, price tapped into this area and exactly formed or closed within that level. And now what's happening is a daily support getting formed on the daily time frame around 20.09 200, and that means the daily candles retracing, going back into this daily support area, meaning the weekly starting to retrace and respecting this weekly support. Now when obviously today is Thursday, we have one more daily candle to form before the weekly candle closes. Now the question is, how would this weekly candle closes? Are we going to see, you know, the daily candle for Friday to respect this previous daily support, retrace and continue bearish, or are we going to see a daily candle consolidating within this level? In my opinion, the way the weekly is retracing, we could potentially see another weekly resistance, or like let's say weekly candle forming bearish, for example, forming weekly resistance. The only thing I don't like with the daily so far is the way the daily is forming within this level. It's like we've had this 4-hour range on the daily on the 4-hour time frame. Now price is breaking out of this range, but the time when price is breaking out of this range is during the time when we are not expecting to see that volume. So makes it a little bit difficult, because obviously, I mean, this new 4-hour candle opening, breaking above this high, what would have been good is to see a retracement and then that continuation to the upside. So now to break down the chart, and let's have a look. So we're going to put a line to where the previous daily high was formed, which obviously is still open. We have the daily low formed on Thursday. Dropping down to the 4-hour time frame, and also what I want to say as well is, it looks, if this daily candle closing strong bullish, is this a fake out on a daily time frame, or is that just a retracement for price to retest this broken daily support before the continuation to the downside? Now what I would say would be good is, yes, having this daily candle closing bullish, maybe to see the daily candle for Friday still being bullish, trading just within this daily range. I'd say maybe just below 20.30, because then the weekly still closing bearish, and then the following weekly candle to form, let's say the Monday the daily candle to open, form a resistance, retest the daily support, which means that will allow for the new weekly candle to fill this week, retest this weekly support again. But again, this is just an anticipation based on the daily time frame. So dropping down to the 4-hour time frame, and that's where it gets really messy. I mean, when I was looking at the analysis, when I was looking at the chart early on, it's going to be a bit difficult to have a decent targets or to identify the no trade zone. But anyways, what we can see here is we have the most recent 4-hour support around 20.07 700, the most recent 4-hour resistance around 20.25 but the price is already approaching this area. So what we can see also on the left is we have this wicks on the 4-hour time frame. Dropping down to the hourly time frame, we have this hourly resistance around 20.28 700. And we have the most recent 1-hour support formed around 20.19 800. Dropping down to the 30-minute time frame. Now what we can do is adjust this support to 20.19 500. We have a same level of resistance. We do have another level of resistance on the 30-minute time frame around 20.30. But this is something that we're gonna revisit. Let's have a look on the 15-minute time frame. Maybe now adjust it to 20.19 200. So now to identify the no trade zone, and the problem I have with this is, for example, let's say we're looking for potential buys above this 4-hour resistance. Now the problem is, your next level is you have this hourly resistance around 2028, which is a 30 pip range. This is a small range. Also, this is a range, or this is a consolidation forming on formed previously on the hourly time frame. So the question is this a valid area to look for potential buys? In my opinion, not really, because after this hourly resistance, we have another hourly resistance on the left, and that's why I'm not liking the way this daily candle is forming. Usually what we see is decent volume during the New York session, for example, and then after the New York session, or like let's say after London close, we start to see price retracing and then form a range, and that will allow the daily candle to form a topic. But so far we haven't really got that topic at all, so that's where it becomes a little bit difficult. So to be reasonable, to be, you know, to wait for a good probability, I would say is wait for potential buys above 20, 30, 600, meaning you're waiting for price to break out of this messy range on the hourly time frame, and to wait for price to break above this 4-hour resistance, above this 4-hour high. And then also when looking at the daily, it means also price will be trading above this recent daily support. So potential buys above 20, 30, 600, and then we have some really good targets we can look on the left. Potential sells, however, potential sells, now obviously price is trading around 2023 700. We have identified this 30-minute support around 2019 200. The question is this a decent target to look for sells? Now let's have a look on the 4-hour time frame, or even the daily. So what we can see on the 4-hour time frame, we have this previous 4-hour support, which is lining up with this 30-minute support we have identified at this level. In my opinion, this could be a decent target for sells, and the only problem with this area is this is a big no trade zone. We're talking about 110 pip range, and I know this is a really big range, but you want to have a higher probability. And that also, I want to mention something that doesn't mean you cannot trade within this range. If you feel confident trading within this range, then you're more than welcome to take a trade within this range. The only thing you have to pay attention to is see how price formed on the left. The question is price going to react to this recent consolidations on the hourly time frame, or are we going to see that continuation to the upside? Knowing how the daily candles forming so far, I'm really not liking trading that range. So ideally is to allow price to form a range within this level. So this is going to be the no trade zone, and if anyone have any questions regarding the no trade zone, then please just go ahead and share it with us. It's good to have different opinions, different ideas. This is my idea. If someone has a different idea, then that'll be good to to share it with the rest. So grand evening, sorry I'm late. Hi Tony, that's okay, no problem. You're welcome. Welcome to the live stream, nice to have you here. So now to look for potential buys. Now if we're going to look for buys, is we need to look at the daily. So since the daily is forming a support around, let's say 2009, or let's say 2010, okay, and price is retracing and trading above this daily range or this daily rejection, where would price will be heading next? So obviously the next target I'm looking at is maybe to fill this daily high, and then the next level we have this area on a daily time frame where it could potentially become a target. Now let's quickly have a look on a weekly actually. So the weekly, nothing really to see apart from, actually let's mark it, okay. So you have this weekly previous support around 2044, dropping down to the daily time frame, and what we can see on the daily, we have this daily range, we have daily rejection area. So this will become an area of interest. But what we need to do next is break down this daily candle. So dropping down to the 4-hour time frame, and what we can see, we have this previous 4-hour support around 2039 500. We still have a really messy range on the 4-hour time frame on the left, but again we are paying attention. So we are targeting this nice 4-hour candle, bearish candle, but as price breaking above this area, this clean traffic on here, you're still paying attention to what could possibly happen within this level. Because for example, let's say price is bullish, let's say you have this clean candle to mirror on the left, and the question is why price, okay, so we have volume, price broke above this area, why we are not seeing that continuation to the upside. Now the other reason could be price reacting to this 4-hour range, because we've had 4-hour, so we have 3 rejections formed on a 4-hour time frame. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 rejections within this area, and then again a 4-hour resistance formed around 2036. So now let's have a look on the hourly time frame. Now dropping down to the hourly time frame and looking on the left, what do we see? We have this previous 1-hour support around 2037-300. You can see how we are adjusting our targets accordingly. Looking at the 30-minute time frame, let's have a look again. What we can see here is, again, this is the same range. I would probably, and then we have this 15-minute resistance. I'd probably have the first target for buys at, I'd say 2037-300, targeting this previous 1-hour support. So that's not only the hourly support, but also this recent 15-minute resistance. And then the second target for buys, now let's have a look again. What we can see, we have this, let's look on weekly support around 2044-500. Zooming in, and we have this daily range again. So this is a really messy range. So dropping down to the 4-hour time frame, we have identified again a 4-hour resistance around 2041-500, and again this is a small range, and we're anticipating for that continuation to the upside. But obviously we need to identify these targets. Looking at the hourly time frame, that's an hourly resistance, and that's where it becomes a range on the 30-minute time frame. And that's where you want to be more careful. If you were looking for that continuation to the upside, you need to pay attention to what happened previously within this level. So if it happened already, then there is a probability for it to happen again. I would say the second target could potentially be 2042, targeting this hourly resistance. If there was, you know, a strong confirmation for bullish momentum in the market, if we've had a lot of volume, then we could see price, based on a daily time frame, we could see price at least tapping into, let's say, 2045 or even 2048, you know, to this area, anticipating that retest, which means, again, that would look like the weekly candle will be closing weak bearish. And that's where it becomes really difficult. So if the weekly candle will close around 2045, let's say around this area, that means we are gonna see, you know, price forming range on the weekly time frame, and it'll become really difficult to look for targets within this level, because obviously price is using a lot, like for example, price is ranging a lot more within these ranges. So yeah, so we have looked now for buys, now to look for potential sells. And if anyone has any questions regarding GJ's buys, gold buys, sorry, just let us know and we will be happy to discuss them. So now to look for sells. Now the first thing I like to do is, whenever the weekly forms a low, I like to have that as a guide. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a line to where the weekly low has been formed at the moment, which is 20.02.200. Dropping down to the daily time frame, now we have a daily support around 20.08.900, let's say 2010. Dropping down to the 4-hour time frame, and that where we've had this messy range forming. Let's have a look on the 4-hour or hourly time frame. We have an hourly support, we have a 30-minute support. We do have this 30-minute support at this level, but that looks really messy on the 30-minute time frame. On the hourly, but what we could do is stick to the high time frame. And what I mean by the high time frame, maybe look at the 4-hour, but look at where the volume was reducing. Okay, so we have 2012 Dropping down to the hourly time frame, we have, to be honest, it looks really messy the way price have been forming here. Maybe what we could do is have the first target for sells at 2013-200, targeting this 30-minute support. And again, this is a range on the hourly time frame, so that's why we're really looking for small targets. Knowing also, if the daily candle is closing bullish, that means the daily candle has formed support on a daily time frame. The only thing we're anticipating now is to see the new daily candle to form a bottom wick. So we are anticipating that retracement to where price could tap before that continuation to the upside. So the first target for sells, we have it at 2013-200, targeting this 30-minute support. The second target for sells, now we have identified this daily support formed on Thursday around 2009-500, and again this is a really small range, but let's have a look on the 4-hour time frame. On the 4-hour time frame, we have this 4-hour range. We have a 4-hour support around 20.07.500 to be adjusted, maybe to stick the same level again on the hourly, because obviously we have a range in this level. And then on the 30-minute time frame, we have this decent 30-minute support area around 20.06, or let's say 20.07. So I'd say the second target for sells could potentially be this 4-hour support or this 4-hour range targeting 20.07, to allow that new daily candle to retrace. But yeah, so if anyone has any questions regarding this analysis, just go ahead and let us know on the chat, and I will be happy to discuss that. Okay, so we have Ziad saying, I'm afraid about the wick in left of for the first target. Let's have a look. Are you talking about gold? I'm assuming that you're talking about gold, but let's have a look. Can you please tell me what time frame you see in that wick? Oh, maybe you're talking about this one. Maybe you're talking about this one on the hourly time frame, or this one. I'm not really worried about this one, because obviously if price breaking and closing out of this range, you're anticipating for that continuation to the upside. And if price fails to continue bullish, then we might see price forming a resistance at this level, and maybe price respecting this area to continue bearish. If it's regarding this one, that was just like obviously a whipsaw that was during news probably, but not really worried about that, because you can clearly see a high has been formed, a low has been formed, and the hourly candle closed small bearish. But then the big question is, what did the candles do after that? Formed a small range and then retraced. So I'm not really worried about this rejection on here, but yeah. It's really interesting how gold is playing out so far, to be honest. It's looking at the weekly, tapping into this weekly support, and now it's retracing. And something that we've actually mentioned is, maybe actually the way I see it is this retracement is good on a weekly, because now obviously a daily support formed on Thursday. If the daily candle closed bearish, forming daily resistance, then that means the weekly will be closing slightly lower. And the idea I'm trying to share here is, if the weekly candle closed bearish, still closing above this weekly support, but what's interesting here is we've had weekly low formed just within this weekly support. So the anticipation is, if we see this weekly candle closing bearish, let's say around 2010 for example, now maybe the following weekly candle will retrace, form a top wick. Once price break below this previous weekly low, or let's say a target on a lower time frame, then we have some traffic to fill. So like, let's say we have some targets to have. Despite having this weekly rejection to the downside, what I'm paying attention to on the left is these weekly rejections. So maybe a retest of 1987 area, like let's say 1990s. But also when you drop down to the daily time frame, the one thing I'm keeping an eye on is below 2005 is this part of the daily candle formed back on the 13th of December 2023, because that's actually a decent candle. I mean, when you measure this daily candle, that was a huge bullish candle. The price went from 1982 all the way to 2032, so that was a big move on gold. So if we could take, for example, if the new weekly candle set up nicely and we still have the current weekly candle closing bearish, we could potentially see the correction of this daily candle. And it doesn't necessarily has to happen, let's say, within this just one daily candle. Maybe we could see, for example, tapping the 2000 level again, or even as far as this daily rejection formed previously, and at least you've covered some sort of part of this correction from this daily candle. So this is something I'm actually keeping an eye on. And the way you start to look at this is wait for the new weekly candle to form. If that move was going to happen next week, for example, wait for the weekly candle to form, allow the new weekly candle to form a top wick, knowing that we still have that rejection, rejection confirmation to the upside. We can still see price rejecting the upside. So, the probability for price to continue bearish, we still have it at our favor. So, what you want to do is wait to see a confirmation for price to break below this daily support, and then that's when you start to really have like ticking different confirmations on different time frames. For example, okay, so if the weekly candle started, for example, formed the top wick and now it's retracing, now it's breaking its solo, so now your next target you're looking at is for price to retest this daily support, and this is how you're preparing for this daily range here. So you're waiting for price to form a top wick. Once price break below this or retest this daily support, now you get really prepared for those sells. Now look at the volume time, look at the day of the week when these confirmations are coming in, and then as you can see, for example, let's say a daily candle closing bearish below this level, then that's when you start to prepare to see clean traffic on the left for that potential sell area. So that's what I would say, that's how you would, target these levels, because not only price breaking below the daily support formed recently, not only breaking below this weekly support, but also getting back below the range where price formed previously a resistance and rejection on a daily time frame. I hope this makes sense, but yeah. But this is the area I'm actually looking at on a daily time frame. These candles here. Do we have any questions regarding the sells? So Ricardo, welcome to the live stream. Hello Salim, wish you a good night. Thank you, man. Thank you. If you're going to sleep, have a good night. How many hours the trader have to put himself beside the chart maximum? Ziad. I would say if you just started trading, maybe you don't have to spend a lot of time on the chart. Maybe, you know, look at the times where there is volume time. If you go on the website on the mini markets, which I do have it on the description below, we have an article where it does talk about the best time to trade, and it does go with a lot in details on, you know, when you can expect volume. For example, across the London session, you have the pre-London, let's say an hour before the London session open, an hour after the London session, and you have an hour before pre-NY. Well, obviously that's an hour before the New York session open, and you have from pre-New York all the way up to sometimes, you know, after the London close, you have decent volume coming in, but sometimes volume comes at different sessions, so it all depends. And also sometimes it goes into like, you know, like you'll get a phase where consistently you always have a range forming on the during the London session, but then you always see decent moves happening in the pre-NY, and it all depends, you know. That sometimes you can see different patterns, I would say. Oh, okay, yeah. No, I'm with you. I'm guessing he's still staying on the live stream. Yeah, sorry. Please, how do you... Abdul Rahim, can you please send the message again? Because I don't really understand what you're trying to say. I do apologize. I'm in sells on gold, so in a good drawdown. Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure when you've opened the position for sells, Ricardo. But what I would say is you have a new daily candle opening now. You have low volume time. If you really want to go full on, maybe wait for high volume time. At least wait for the Asian session, because London session. Because, you know, the problem you have, if you've opened the trade now and you're trying to trade it, maybe you want to, you know, reassess your decision on taking that trade at the moment, because you're trading within a 4-hour resistance, within a range, you know. You're trading within a level where the daily candle closed with hardly no wick to the top, so it becomes difficult. I would say if you want to stick with the okay brother, thank you, you're welcome anytime. Ziad, please, how do you identify the overbought trade market? I would say look at the high time frame, look at the monthly, sometimes I even look at the yearly time frame, you know, because it's interesting to see what happened, for example, with GJ, you know, during the... I'm not sure if we can actually add this, because if I can add that would be good. Now there is no yearly time frame, because I know that there's an option for that on TradingView, which I actually review that every now and then, but there isn't on the MT5. But because sometimes, you know, you start to pick on different things, you know. You look at that bullish momentum, for example. Let's have a look on gold, or even actually on GJ. I mean, personally, to me, I think GJ has been extremely bullish. It would be good to see a retracing, because, you know, all the way from 2020, after price consolidated for quite some time on a monthly time frame, you know, back in 2018, and then I'd say since 2021, since January 2021, price have been extremely bullish. We've been doing nothing but forming highs, ranges, highs, ranges, highs, retracement. Price have never formed a deeper, you know, retracement on a high time frame. So in my opinion, it would be good to see, for example, the best case scenario for this price action here is as price formed, let's say, a consolidation within this monthly time frame here, formed the resistance, retrace and managed to close below this range on a monthly time frame. This monthly candle for January would have been the perfect opportunity to see that retracement, to see the break of the low, and then to see maybe a retest of this monthly resistance, some sort of a retracement on a high time frame, I would say. But obviously that is completely different to what we can see on the charts today. But again, the one thing we want to pay attention to, despite price being extremely bullish at the moment, look at on the left on where price is tapping into a monthly rejection from back in November 2015. So this is an area of interest. It'll be really interesting to see what gold would do within the next 2 weeks. Let's have a look. Okay, so 2010 might open massive 30 pip down, sells the news and don't close my trade. I mean, yeah. How is 2026 level looking, brother? So are you talking, okay, it's 2026. Let's just put a line to where 2026 just to see what you could potentially be looking at. So 2026, looking at follow time, we have 4-hour resistance. Yeah, so like when we were doing the breakdown analysis, we have identified this 4-hour resistance, and maybe this would have been the perfect opportunity to see that continuation to the upside, or a perfect area to see for potential buys. But the only problem we have here, if you was looking for buys, let's say above 2026, which is obviously we have a decent 4-hour resistance. Now when you drop down to the hourly time frame, this is a range on the hourly time frame. Your target is going to be, for example, this hourly resistance. Now when you measure this level here, this is a small range, and we're talking 31 pip range. And then after this hourly resistance, you have another hourly resistance where price rejected the upside previously, which is also a small range around 16 pip range. So that's where the decision came on making this as a no trade zone and allowing price to form a new range for the Friday daily candle. But yeah, can leave the trade on 2016 if comes. It's okay. I don't see any sells for the moment yet. So if you've had buys from 2010 and you're holding, yes, I would say yeah, like still hold them, because obviously the daily is closing in your favor. Daily is closing bullish. The daily closing above the previous daily support formed on the left, so you have some confirmations to hold the buys. Now the only thing is, think about the new daily candle forming the bottom wick if you're going to see that continuation to the upside, and ask yourself, how far will you feel comfortable to see that retracement? How far are you okay to allow price to, go against your favor before you start to assess or think about closing the trade? I mean, 2016 you've mentioned, that's also a good area to look for, whether you want to close the trade or not. Yeah, I think you know what you're doing, Ricardo, to be honest. And that's a good way to describe it, I would say. So we do have about 20 minutes on the live stream. If you do have any questions, go ahead and ask us. We will be happy to answer the questions. So Ricardo said, I don't see any sells for the moment. Yeah, I mean, there is no confirmation for sells whatsoever. But you have a new daily candle opening. So what is the probability for that daily candle to form a bottom wick before continuing bullish? Now, you'd have a really, really good strong confirmation because the daily formed support. And that's a decent daily candle closing bullish. But the new daily candle needs to form a bottom wick, and you'd rather see the bottom wick formed first before breaking the high. Because the other thing you can do, for example, if you're already in the buy and you're having some decent profits, maybe as the daily candle form a bottom wick, as it breaks its own high, maybe you could look for another entry to continue, you know, you're like basically scaling in your buys. Maybe that's something that you could do, but it depends on how comfortable you feel doing that. Yeah, so just a quick reminder, our next live stream will be on Sunday. That will be 11 p.m. So that's GMT time, UK time, be about 5 p.m. Eastern time, where we will be reviewing the weekly candle, how it closed, and anticipating for the new weekly candle, what to look for the Monday, for the Tuesday. I just want to remind people. Good evening all. Remember to leave a thumbs up. Thank you, Salim. Analysis is very clear. Thank you, Alexandria. I really appreciate the feedback. Yeah, guys, make sure to give us a like, share, and subscribe. I would really appreciate that, because what we're going to do is we want to have the community growing. We want to be able to provide more, you know, education, more breakdown analysis, more interaction with the clients. We really want to help people. The reason why we're doing this live stream, it's not really for the money, it's not for the views or anything, but we want to expand, you know, the community. The more people they join, the better it is, I would say, because then we have more questions. And as you can see, I'm keeping these live streams consistent. You know, I'm always going to have them. There will be no skipped live stream or anything. I like to keep consistency on the work I do, so. You're welcome anytime, Ziad. Thank you for the feedback. Okay, so let's have a look on the daily. Yeah, because like, you know, for gold, everything's just indicating bearish. For me personally, you know, you have we have weekly resistance formed here, another weekly resistance formed here, potentially another weekly resistance to be formed here. So everything's indicating bearish. You know, you have a rejection to the upside, you have multiple confirmations. All you have to do is wait for the perfect timing to, let's say, for swing trading, or, you know, if you want to take further sells, big targets for sells. But there are some really good confirmation for that, you know, bearish momentum, I would say. Now, I would say there is a probability to see a daily resistance to be formed on GJ. Nemat was looking at the same thing as well, so I think that could be happening, you know. We just need a decent volume. We just need a good, let's say, maybe a potential rejection on the hourly time frame. Maybe let's say price retracing now, form another range in here, continue bullish, form a resistance, form a rejection to the upside, and then print bearish. On my funded account, I can't trade news. Yeah, I mean, I don't really do funded accounts. Because there's a lot of you know, restrictions on these accounts and stuff. So I would rather just trade my own funds, knowing that, you know, whatever you do, it's your own capital. Yeah, so I need to close before 3 p.m. tomorrow. So I have left buys running targeting 2026 and sell limit placed within 1 to 2 risk reward. So Ian, when did you take your buys? Like, what was your entry if you're looking to target 2026? When did you enter your buys? And where is your stop loss? Just really curious. Like, I'm just curious on your, you know, your buy idea. Because, you know, like you trained in a range on the hourly. This is a messy range on the hourly. You can clearly see how these candles, the previous hourly candle, how it closed, measuring this roughly around 32 pip range. The rejection to the downside, which really technically not a rejection, this is just the hourly candle ranging. But then look at how the hourly closed, small body candle, roughly around 5 pip range, you know. So you just need really some good volume for price to break above here and continue bullish. You know, the whole idea about trading is you don't want to take a trade and just really take your time. Because, okay, so the way I see it, and some people might disagree with this, is I would rather be on a trade a lot more, like, let's say for example, I would rather be in a trade within 5 minutes rather than 30 minutes. Because when I'm in a trade for 5 minutes, I'm more likely to manage my risk, you know, accordingly. I'm more likely to, you know, assess the chart properly. I can focus on managing risk. But when you're holding a trade, let's say for example for an hour or two, you start to really lose your, you know, your risk management. For example, you start to overseeing things. You know, even though, let's say for example, price is let's say you're in a buy and price is rejecting the upside and you're 4 or 5 pips in drawdown, you're talking yourself into the trade of saying, okay, so price is definitely going to go in my favor. Now, even though the 30-minute time frame is giving you a resistance, even though the 5-minute is doing nothing, like let's say the 50-minute time frame also forming resistance, you're still looking to hold that trade, hoping for price to continue bullish in your favor. And then you start to look on the 5-minute and try to find a reason to why you should keep that trade. Now you're really messing with your psychology to hold the trade and to start like talking yourself out of managing that risk. So to hold the trade for longer, you really need to work on your psychology. You need to be more comfortable and you need to be ready to take that loss, because you need to take that responsibility. Okay, so I had my, for example, my risk management. I was, you know, planning to close the trade if it breaks below its own low, for example, for this new hourly candle. And then you start to say, okay, so maybe I can adjust it a little bit. And then you start to come out of that, you know, risk management plan that you've had for that particular trade. Yes, I have capital on the mini markets as well. Funded and put Raja on a broker. Let's have a look. What's the points that make you profitable, and did you been losing in your beginning to, what's that? Let's have a look. Ricardo, please check rules again from. So Ricardo said, so EM said, Ricardo, please check rules again. From what I know, the newest trading rules means you can't place a trade 2 or 5 minutes before and after the news. So max 10 minutes window, so you don't need to close if you're good. Oh yeah, I mean, there you go. we have some information from EM. Salim, you have a Manchester accent. I'm actually from Leeds, West Yorkshire. I'm based in Leeds. Yeah. So see, I actually really liked the fact that EM, I'm not sure what's your real name, but it's good that you've shared some information regarding, you know, trading the news, or like, you know, when you can open a trade, because now someone did benefit from this information. So thank you for providing that information, and now Ricardo obviously benefited from that, so thank you for that. Yeah, only 40-minute drive difference. Yeah, not long ago I went to Dubai because we've had the Forex Expo for the mini markets, and I did fly from Dubai, from Manchester to Dubai, and it took me about, I'd say, 50 minutes to drive. I was in Dubai for about five days. It was good to catch up with the team. We've had our booth. We were there for 2 days. A lot of people turned up. Really good experience. I'm hoping that we can do the same thing again this year. That would be good. Yes. So Ian, what's your real name, just so I know? Oh, just like a first name. It just feels weird to call you Ian with a different name on YouTube. Huge thanks to you, because of your analysis does save me a lot of time for my TP zones. Yeah, you're welcome. Honestly, you're welcome anytime, you know. Always happy to assist and help. Chaudhary, I hope I'm saying that correctly. I really hope I'm saying it correctly. Please let us know when this year you would be in Dubai Expo. So nothing has been confirmed yet for this year, but I know every year there is like a Forex Expo, so it would actually be good to have another, another chance to be in the Forex Expo, because we've had a lot of people, and Raja also spoke at the Forex Expo. His speech was one of the best. He, honestly, like the way he explained things, it's just he really does inspire me a lot. I'm not gonna lie. I think if it wasn't for Raja, I would have lost interest in trading already. I remember back in 2020 in January, which obviously that's how I was introduced to trading, via signals and everything, and I was through a different group, and it just didn't make sense to me. Every time you come to the chart, you get people sending you these signals, and I didn't agree with this idea. I didn't like it, because for example, you're at home and you get someone sending you, signal, tells you when to buy, tells you where to put your stop loss and when to look for your target, tells you to hold your position and not close your position, and it just didn't make sense. So I started questioning myself, how did this guy know when to buy and when to close and where to put your stop loss? So it has to be a reason behind it. And then I'd say for about 2 to 3 months, it didn't really make sense for me, because the way I was thinking of it, imagine if that person one day disappeared or passed away, God forbid. What's gonna happen to my future if I'm relying heavily on these analysis as a sort of source of income? Because I know obviously you can leverage on your lot size and whatever, but the question is, what would happen? So I had to really find a reason to keep me going on that game. So I'd say probably I was losing hope at that time. Nothing made sense. So then obviously I remember was about June time, just going past Instagram, just scrolling, and all of a sudden I found a video and it says wicks don't lie. I clicked on it, and this guy had nothing but knowledge. Literally, I went through the whole like all of his Instagram. I've watched every single video that he posted, every single post, and there was nothing flashy, you know. There was pure information, you know. And obviously I did find out about the New York live streams, which was even better. And during the lockdown, that was just the perfect thing, you know. Like, it was daily tuning in, listening to what he had to say, and just learning. And then that's when it really started to click. And then on the fundamental side of trading, Capital Hungry Jeev is really, really good. He knows a lot more than anybody else that I know in the financial industry. He knows a lot about the central banking system, the way he explains things, the way everything's perfect about the way he explains, you know, about the central banking system, about interest rates. He's really good with that. So anyone who wants to focus on fundamentals, then I would highly recommend you to check out Capital Hungry. I know, sorry, don't know how I changed that. No, it's fine. It's completely fine. It's not a problem at all. But yeah, it would be good to have another year at the Forex Expo. And not to, like, you know, brag or anything. Other brokerages, like, I remember we was at this hall where different people was talking, and like different people was talking, and then all of a sudden this guy was talking about you can, you know, have a $10 trading account and you can make a lot of money. It doesn't make sense. Like, how can you open a trade having a $10 account? Like, it literally doesn't make sense at all. So it was a bit of a laugh to have you know, to look at these, you know, brokers talking about how low you can start, and it just doesn't make sense. You need the good capital to be able to, you know, scale your account, and because otherwise you're not going to respect your profits. Are you going to get excited on getting a return of £2, £3, £5, £6, $6? To some people, they might lose, you know, that drive to keep, you know, the discipline. Name again for the fundamental guy. Yeah, so his name is Jeev. So he's got an Instagram account. It's Capital Hungry. So that's CAPITAL Hungry, as HUNGRY, Capital Hungry. So could you please look at GJ? Yeah, I'm looking at GJ, and there's honestly nothing. That's just price forming a range, I would say. You know, the only time that you really start to look at GJ maybe is when you see a strong candle closing either bullish or bearish. But again, the reason why we do identify a no trade zone is so you're not constantly looking at the chart. So you're just waiting. So you're allowing, okay, so price basically, you know, it's like putting boundaries, you know. You are waiting for price. You're allowing price to do whatever it wants within this level, within this range. But then you're waiting to look for that buy above this area and sell below this area. And that way you're not just tied in with the chart, I would say. Okay, many thanks. You're welcome. Yeah, he's really, really good. I'd highly recommend you to have a look. But yeah, like other brokers, you know, talking about, you know, you can open a live trading account with $10, and honestly, that was a laugh. I've taken some pictures, I remember, on my phone, and just looking back, it's just. But then with the mini markets, it was a complete different situation. Our booth was the busiest out of all of them. It was literally the busiest. People coming, queuing up, taking pictures with Raja, taking pictures with the team. We've had a roulette where people can spin the wheel, and then you can win anything. Let's say a mug, let's say a pan, magic keys. You can win a top, a hat of Dominion Markets. You can win anywhere from $100 trading accounts up to $5,000 basically trading account as well. So we've had various things, you know, we kept it fun for everyone, and we've had a huge turnover. And obviously we won an award, which is the fastest trade execution for 2023 as well. If anyone wants to test out our platform, I've put the link on the description. Just go ahead, open an account, deposit as low as, you know, $100, and then just test out the platform. If you're not happy with it, just withdraw your fund, and then just you go ahead on your day. But I'd highly recommend you to test out the platform, because we have the fastest execution, we have the lowest spread, we have education, and not just that. For example, let's say you're trading, and let's say you have an ECN account, for example, you're paying commission. The good thing about the minion markets is when you are trading and you're paying commission, once you accumulate a certain amount of commissions, you can use these commissions for incentives. For example, you can get a digital magic keys, or you can get access to market fluidity, which is a database where you can look at different videos about risk management, talking about candlesticks, how to read the chart, how to break down the analysis, different things. So I'd highly recommend you to give it a try. So do we have any questions before we wrap the stream? Okay, so I don't think we do have any questions. As mentioned, this is the no trade zone for gold. We're looking for potential buys above 2030. We're looking for potential sells below 2019. We're allowing enough range for price to consolidate. Yes, I know the no trade zone is a lot more bigger than expected, simply because we're respecting this range on the left, and there is a probability for price to tap into this level and then retrace. So it's a messy range. For GJ, the same thing. We're looking for buys above 188.460. We're looking for sells below 187.850. The anticipation is to see a daily resistance to be formed. Now, what would actually be good is, let's say, if price form a top wick and then that becomes a rejection during the Asian session, and then the London session starts to see further sells, retrace, continue that bearish momentum during the New York session, and then end the daily candle with a daily resistance to be formed within this level. And obviously that will allow the weekly candle to close with a wick to the upside, and then at least we have different kind of confirmations whether we want to have that continuation to the upside for further buys, or we could see a retracement on the daily time frame, knowing the daily candle for Friday forming a resistance for further sells on the high time frame. I would really like to maybe get a different laptop. I was looking for a touch screen ones where I can actually use a pen and I can draw things, and that would be really good. But yeah, I'll look into this, to be honest, because I want to be able to draw things and explain freely, because with a mouse you can only do so much. You can draw, but not as consistent as you can do with a pen. But anyways, so thank you everyone for joining the live stream. I really hope everyone enjoyed the live stream. So have a nice weekend. We will see you all on Sunday, 11 p.m. UK time. That's around 5 p.m. Eastern time, where we will have another live stream. So thank you again. Make sure to give us a like, share the video, and subscribe to the channel. Thank you.